from Stephen Mary's. Praying one day Big Red will win the NIT.
Ham is the water of meats.
Ham's the water of meats.
Ham is the water of meats.
Someone needs for bacon.
Ham is the water of meats. Ham is the water of meats.
You know, you have this perception of what you want to do and how things are going to go. This is the worst thing about doing the video chats is when we bring our guest on ahead of time and have a chance to converse ahead of time, because now the whole tenor of where I thought the conversation might go, I almost feel has to change based on what we just talked about for the last 2.5 minutes.
Talk about whatever you want. Whatever you want.
I know you will. You'll go with the flow. You're very flexible, and I appreciate you for that. But here, and this is my fault. I mean, I started the program off by being upset at a stupid penalty that cost Nebraska their last drive of the first half. And now we come to this.
Gary triggered me right off the bat.
Yeah, Gary triggered you with the whole Chiefs thing. Josh is fine. I mean,
yeah, I've given up on everything. I'm fine.
He's good, but now I'm under the impression that this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, Nebraska-Wisconsin may determine the ultimate fate of our next guest, Jack Mitchell from KLIN, as a Husker fan. I mean, this could be the make or break moment.
No, I mean, I'm not. What am I? I'm not going to quit cheering for Nebraska. I'm just saying, I don't have another loss in a big game in me. I don't have it. I'm empty. I have got nothing left. I've got no more fuel left. I'm on the reserves already for losses in big games. And
so Nebraska could win out, then go to Indianapolis, lose that big game, and you're still out?
No, if I gain fuel from a win. Josh, do you not know?
I see.
John,
okay.
do you not know? Sorry, Josh. Do you not know, John, how big game fuel works? I thought we all knew this. If you win a big game, it replenishes a portion of your big game victory fuel. And so then it can be used up later. But
Bethune-Cookman didn't do anything for you.
Wow.
The what win?
Bethune-Cookman.
You see, that's it. When, if you really think about it, when have Nebraska fans ever been able, in recent, and don't give me Michigan State in 2015, because that's not it.
But they played a song, Jack. They danced. They played a song. They were dancing on the bench. People didn't leave the stadium for the first time in decades.
That was temporary, and it was nice. Don't get me wrong. I was celebrating. You guys got mad at me because I celebrated when they beat Purdue in Mike Riley's final year, and I was happy. I've tried to create my own happiness.
I wasn't mad at you.
But when has there been a moment when we haven't had to create our own happiness? Because seriously, when? I'm asking you. 2012? Is it 8 years? Is that what it is?
I mean, if you're just saying what are you asking? Like where you didn't have to explain away a victory or something like that?
A true a victory that was not only a game where Nebraska won a game that was difficult to win and it was meaningful within the context of the season.
Honestly,
okay, all right. Let me give you one.
It's been since 2010. If we're going by letter of the law, because
come on, Foster Farms Bowl. They won a trophy. They beat UCLA.
Shut up, John.
See, Jack, I'm trying to have a real conversation with you. John just wants you
to lose your
Honestly, I think it's all the way back to 2010. Here's my question for you then, Jack. I guess this is not the version of you that I would have expected to see 1 week into the season after a game that was an obvious loss to a team like Ohio State. Is some of this the Graham Mertz news? Is some of this now that you've watched them and you're just having all these feelings again? Where did this come from?
I mean, I'd love to say it's a lot more analysis than it is. This is, I believe, the law of averages has to work out at some point. Honestly. At this point, and I'll be honest, I'm going to get laughed off. I don't know what you guys have said. I haven't heard the show before, but I'm almost as happy with that game as I imagined I could be, to be honest. Almost as happy with that game as I imagined I could, the Ohio State game after it was over. And so I came out of it feeling better about the potential for this season than I did going into it. I'll say that.
There was a question I had asked because, obviously with the Graham Mertz news, and we still don't know, and we may not know until kickoff, honestly,
right.
What's going to happen with him. But the question basically was that based on what we saw on Saturday, with Nebraska theoretically playing better, even in a 35-point loss, where the only way you can feel like you're still making progress is by beating Wisconsin on Saturday. Which I know sounds like a stretch because you're going from, hey, you lost by 35 to Ohio State. Oh, by the way, who's been the other most consistent team? Maybe not at the same level, but certainly the most consistent has been Wisconsin next to Ohio State. That seems like a pretty big leap to say, well, they got to show the only way they can show progress is if they actually go out and beat Wisconsin.
I mean, it partially feels true at this point. I mean, you at some point, these can't all be such high mountains to climb. And I believe Ohio State is, and I believe it was, and that's why I came out of the game with the confidence that I had about the season. But as you guys very well know, I am not on the Wisconsin is elite bandwagon that the entire college football universe has jumped headlong into. 2 weeks ago, I told you how bad it was. Did you guys hear the Love Fest Friday night against a bad Illinois team? Great. Yes, Mertz did not throw more than one incompletion. He looked fine. But truly, there are 4 Big Ten quarterbacks you could have imagined doing that against Illinois' defense on Friday night. And so, yes, I do believe, John, the combination of what you're saying, they've got to one of the things I said at the beginning of the year, and I think you guys agreed with me, is that this year is a success if there is tangible improvement from last year. So that's not necessarily winning the division or anything like that, but I think that's twofold. That has got to be, number one, just having a better win-loss record, which is not a high bar to clear. Number two, the way that you lose, don't be laying down. And I actually thought, despite the score, I thought for the most part that was true in game 1 against Ohio State. And then you've got to win some of these games. That goes into getting the record. But this is the quintessential. This and Iowa are those 2 quintessential games. You've got to get one of those to meet that standard of improvement. And this feels gettable right now. And that's probably where I'm at right now.
So, Jack, where did you leave the game? You said that, barring a win, that you were pretty pleased overall, even as pleased as you can be with a 52-17 loss. So where were you pleased with the game? And I guess where did you leave concerned about the rest of the season?
I'm concerned that Nebraska doesn't have 2 of its defensive players in the first half of the next game because of garbage officiating. I was pleased. I was pleased with this offense. I thought the combination of McCaffrey and Adrian Martinez is exciting. I thought they used it really creatively. I feel like the offense has, more weapons than I gave it credit for as I looked into the year. I love the use of the tight end. I mean, felt like you went to the tight end more in that game than you did for the last 5 seasons combined. I've been wanting that. I love the fact that the defensive line was better than I ever expected it to be. And it was a whole bunch of freshmen that were doing a lot of things in there as well. I thought Nebraska didn't look like they got pushed around. They stopped the run. I mean, I could go on and on. There were a lot of things that looked better and incredibly different, even though the score ended up the same as last year. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, agree that you look at those 2 games, 2019 Ohio State, 2020 Ohio State, the score was really similar. They were not, I mean, they're not even comparable in the same world in terms of how dominant the winning team was. Now, what am I concerned about? Yeah, that they're never going to stop fumbling. That's a concern. Again, that feels like a law of averages thing, but they're never going to stop fumbling. And the penalties thing, I don't know. I can't get myself worked up about being concerned about penalties. I'm that sounds funny for me to say, but I just realized that. I don't know. That just feels like it's such a game-to-game thing. Yeah. I don't know. And I know I'm not even as concerned. I know as I looked at Twitter, my gosh, people, they can turn on the negativity like that. It is insane to me. I mean, people just going nuts about not having a downfield threat. Now, number one, you didn't have your full slate of receivers. Number two, it was part of the game plan, in my opinion. At that point, I don't think they wanted to come out and throw deep against the what was probably the strength of Ohio State's defense at that point. What they were doing was pretty much working.
That's interesting you say that because you're bomb the ball guy. You're anti-run the ball guy. You're bomb the ball guy.
Yes, I am. I'm bomb the ball guy.
Did they not should bomb the ball guy be a little miffed today? Because
Not when the
Nebraska
things they
didn't
were
try to
doing
stretch
were
the field.
not when the things that they were doing were generally working. Guys, if they were running it into the the line for a 1 yard gain or 2 yard loss every other play, and they were doing swing passes that were just getting blown up every time, yes, absolutely. That's why I said it in other years. That's not what was happening in this game. And so, that seemed to me, I know I was listening to Scott Frost after the game, and Sam McEwen was trying to ask him about that. And he said, I think I see where you're trying to go with this article. And listen, I'm actually going to defend the coach here in this situation. Like, I thought it was pretty clearly part of the game plan at this point, and I'm not ready to go away from that single game where clearly the game plan was to involve McCaffrey and Martinez running as much as you could, use the tight end as much as you could against what Ohio State brought on defense, and really worry about there not being a downfield threat yet at this point. So I don't know, where I don't know where I'm super concerned. It was a perfect game, I
guess. Ladies and gentlemen, a perfect game. It's a perfect game. A 52-17 loss.
Honestly, Jack, the thing that I one of my takeaways from this game that I didn't know if I would have after the first one was, wow, they really have a problem now in figuring out what to do with McCaffrey. A good problem because he's so athletic and so talented. Is it that crazy of a statement to say that he is like the best runner on the team, like full stop, no matter quarterback, wide receiver with the ball in the hands, or any of the running backs? And so that's the thing that I wonder about, because I am someone that hates a true quarterback system in the truest sense of where you're flip-flopping back and forth. But I don't know what they do with him. And I don't know how they figure out how to get him involved if they still want Adrian Martinez to be the guy.
You have to. You have to. And I think they are two of your best players on the team. I think you may be right about him as a runner, maybe with the exception of Wan'Dale Robinson. You could argue that. But to me, if I'm looking at this team, I want to see them both on the field during the course of the game. I agree, Josh. A 2-quarterback system, a pure one, I'm not a fan of. But I don't that's not what I would describe what it was on Saturday. Would you?
No, I wouldn't either. I would say that was more of like Adrian was the guy, and they just had to get Luke involved in as many ways as possible.
So I don't mind the whole kind of Taysom Hill on steroids thing for Luke McCaffrey, to be honest, because I think it presents when they see him out on the field. I think that's what happened on that play when he lined up at running back. They thought he was going to pass it or something. I think it presents matchup problems. I heard people complaining this morning saying, "Oh, you got to settle on one guy." No, you're crazy. You're crazy not to get Luke McCaffrey on the field. Sometimes at quarterback, yes, but I think generally you keep going with Adrian as a quarterback most of the time. Maybe there's some packages, and then you move Luke around, especially when you're complaining about not having wide receivers that are going to get the ball downfield. I have no problem with that use of those two. By the way, I did think of one thing that I did have an issue with. That was the tackling. There were 4 or 5 times when they had Fields. Fields should have been dead to rights for sacks.
Well, they did have him down once. They just didn't go to replay and confirm it.
Well, that's true. Garbage officiating aside, there were 3 or 4 more others where I could not believe a guy that outweighs him by 50 pounds was not bringing him down. The tackling was still not where you want it to be, especially in the backfield. So that was really frustrating to me. Sorry,
okay, I teased this before this segment started, but we were already on the subject, so I'm going to bring it up because I feel like I'm in the minority here.
Uh-oh.
I am not against finding creative ways to get Luke McCaffrey on the field, but here are my concerns. It comes at the expense of a running back room that you want to develop. You're obviously tempting some fate with a program that has had very little success keeping one quarterback healthy for an entire season. And so I guess, so when I say I'm torn, I'm with what you guys are saying. He's obviously a very talented player that you need to get on the field, but he had, what was it? I got the numbers right here in front of me. How many carries did he have? 12 carries, I think he had on Saturday. 13. Nope, sorry. 9 carries. Martinez had 13. Mills had 9 carries for the whole game. Yeah. Tompkins had 4 carries. You had only 1/3 of your 36 carries going to the guys who have literally running in their title. So I understand the desire of wanting Luke McCaffrey on the field, but doesn't it come at the expense of giving Mills the chance to be the quote unquote bell cow, of giving Wan'Dale Robinson more touches? He only had 6 and no runs, no designed runs. Ronald Tompkins, Savion Morrison, Marvin Scott. I mean, I thought we were going to have a deep running back room this year, and now all of a sudden, we're divvying up some of the carries to McCaffrey. So help me out here, because I'm with you, but I also have concerns about how you use McCaffrey in conjunction with all of these other pieces that you want to develop and have a diverse offense.
Well, I don't. It depends how you're talking about it. If you're talking about long-term development, I guess I understand the point. But would anyone say that when Nebraska's offense didn't get it done on Saturday, it was because they went to McCaffrey or
there was the drive, the last drive of the first half after the dumb delay of game penalty. The first play was a toss play to McCaffrey. Why are you asking McCaffrey to gain yards on 1st and 15 from your own 20-yard line? That was one example. Well, I didn't like that.
Maybe I didn't see a ton of that. And the penalty prior to that was the bigger problem.
I agree, but I'm just saying that was one example where, maybe you're getting a little too cute by still trying to incorporate him as a running back when you're behind the chains all before.
There's no doubt. Listen, there's no doubt you can overdo it, and you can put him in. You can be so intentional about it that you use him in situations that are probably better suited to someone else, and you got this new shiny toy and you want to play with it constantly, and instead it shouldn't be used all of the time. And so I think there's something to that, but to me, the upside of having it as an option and using it, mixing it in there, truly mixing it in there with a dose of the other things that are going on. And against Wisconsin, I'd be shocked, John, if you don't see Dedrick Mills with a whole lot more carries against Wisconsin. I do think that was kind of game plan centric again because of Ohio State.
All right, Jack, we have to talk about the most important thing to come out of this weekend, and that is you not knowing when any sports are on. So you tweeted last night, I literally forgot the World Series was on tonight, and I'm a baseball fan. That's a problem. Like every year when the college football national championship game is about to be played, you're like, I'm going to forget that there's a championship game tonight. You, Mr. Color-coded Microsoft Excel spreadsheet guy, how do you keep forgetting when
you think he reads that stuff?
I guess not.
I know. I just make it forever. Listen, I don't get high on my own supply. I just give it out to the masses for the most part.
I mean, how do you not know it was a World Series last night? It was promoted all over the broadcast. It was on the same network as the Husker game.
And the night before was like one of the best games in recent World Series.
Yes, and I watched that. But I'll tell you what, that NFL.
Well, normally after game 4, if the series isn't over, there's a game 5.
First of all, half the series they ran every single day, and then half of them they took the regular breaks. There's no way of knowing, whether they play again. And so I didn't watch a lot. I listened to NFL on the radio a lot yesterday because I was out and about.
Thank
and
you.
if I was watching it, I was watching on Red Zone, so I didn't see that many previews. And then I got that lost in that NFL game, which was a great game, which had huge fantasy implications. And I was into the middle of that game, and all of a sudden I saw a score come across, and I was like, oh yeah, that's tonight too. But this game is too good, and I didn't really care anyway because that football game was fantastic.
I'll defend Jack a little bit. When I was gone on Friday, and you guys send me the predictions, and most of the time the predictions on our sheet say, this team -3 against this team. It's pretty easy to make. But every once in a while, there's more of a broad question, kind of. And one of them was, what will the World Series be on Monday? And I remember thinking to myself, because I was trying to do it on my phone. I wasn't at home. And I was thinking to myself, like, God, I got to look up how many games are played between now and Monday. Damn it. Because I didn't know either.
Right. Like, do people really know if there's a game tonight or not? Like, just right now, do you guys know?
No game tonight.
I'm sure you
do.
do.
No game tonight because they're back on the regular schedule.
I'm talking to Radio World. There's a whole bunch of people saying, that's a good point, Jack. I'm not totally sure if there's a game tonight.
I didn't know.
Yeah, but Jack, you're a baseball guy.
Huge baseball guy. That game Saturday night was amazing. It was better than all the college football, and I'm a bigger college football than I'm a baseball guy. But that was
I'm sure.
amazing.
I'm sure if there was some meaningless Royals exhibition game where some, AA player who's got a promising future was playing, you would have known about it.
The
You would
next
have been right
Wang
there on
Nachos
top
we're
of
going to watch. I got a feed at the Fall Instructional League in Surprise, Arizona. We're going to watch.
It's Alex Gordon night at spring training. I got to
He's going to call. He's going to call Farron and have Farron hold up his phone and record the game on Zoom or something, so he can switch it over and interrupt whatever other
Josh,
game.
if you were going to be referencing a controversial tweet of mine this weekend, that wasn't in the top 20. Number one.
What was the bigger one?
Well, first of all, I basically during the football game I alleged an actual Big Ten conspiracy of officials against Nebraska, but maybe that's not surprising for me. The other one last night, you can expect that from me during games. I'm out of hand during games. Everyone knows it. I'm glad people just accept it. But I didn't have a huge emotional stake in the Seahawks game last night. But I said, if you gave me a choice right now between Mahomes and Russell Wilson, I'm taking Russell Wilson right now. And I think I shocked some people with that, but I'm sticking to it.
I will say this.
Apparently, was this before or after he threw the two really stupid interceptions?
That was before.
Yeah, and I will say this, Jack. A group chat that I am in with 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans, they were definitely sharing that tweet at the end of the game saying, wow, Jack really got this one wrong.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, I like Russell Wilson, too. I don't think I would take him over Mahomes right now, but it's closer. It's closer than I would have thought at the beginning of the year. Let's put it that way.
All right. Now I'm officially
I'll give you that.
Now I'm officially a Seahawks fan, so I can throw it back in the face of your friends that I don't even know.
Awesome.
That's how I do
You might know one of them. I'll tell you.
He sucks.
By the way, Jack, you have now been included. We have listener Shane who is triggered by everything that we say.
Oh, geez. These are my favorite.
Shane says, does Coach Frost know that Jack's fandom is dependent upon this game? Players should know. Go root for another team if you're fair weather like that.
What an idiotic thing to say. What does that even mean? I didn't say I said my fandom doesn't depend on it. I didn't say I'm going to quit like the team. But listen, like I said, I don't have any fuel left in the tank for another big game loss. And so I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be devastating.
I look forward to next Monday where the big topic is going to be, is Jack filled with fake big game fuel because Nebraska beat a Graham Mertzless Wisconsin? That's the conversation I look forward to.
How does Shane feel about it?
That is going to be so annoying.
And it's Northwestern week.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and by the way, and Wisconsin is now like higher tier Northwestern with the way that they get treated. By the way, there's high class Northwestern, and then that's not the right word, but high level Northwestern, which is Wisconsin, and like low level Northwestern, which is Northwestern. In terms of the media's desire to elevate them to just amazing heights. I am so glad didn't watch that Northwestern Maryland game where they beat Tua's brother. I saw it on the background of Stibbs' screen there highlights happening, and I could just even feel the announcers like weeping with joy through that thing. Oh God. The next 2 weeks, please.
And coming up at halftime, we'll have our special Northwestern panel with Stuart Mandel and
Mike Wilbon
and Mike Wilbon and Darren Ravel.
What's her name? Oh my gosh, so bad.
We might have to bring Jack on for our halftime program extravaganza during the Northwestern game and just say,
I'm all in on that.
20 minutes. Here you go, Jack.
That's fine.
That's if he hasn't given up on them because they didn't fill him with enough big game fuel this next week against Wisconsin.
Hopefully I'll be filled up. Let's hope so. Shane doesn't, Shane wants me to have low expectations. It's sad. It's sad that
Shane
things like that have happened to
also
Shane.
said Nebraska will start 3-0. Book it. So Shane doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, and I don't. We have a theory that his name isn't even really Shane. We think that he might be an imposter.
Fake name? What a jerk.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the theme of this week's game, if there was ever a time to change the tunnel walk, because there won't be any fans in the stands anyway, so there won't be anyone there to boo it, this week it needs to be Metallica's Fuel. Give him fuel, give him fire, give Jack that which he desires.
I'm fine. Yes. I love it. Fuel us
Shaking
up,
his head to the
Huskers.
beat. There's no music.
Every time you go to the gas station this week, you think of it. You think of the fueling up that this fan base is going to get with a win on leading into Halloween night, a beautiful night, and you got the kids walking around and you're watching the night. I mean, this is what I dreamed of when I hoped there would be a college football season. That moment on Halloween night. Please make it happen. Please make it happen. Please.
I'm there with you. I'm with you. I believe in it. I look forward to it. Thanks for giving us the energy we need to get through the rest of the day.
Please make it happen.
All right. There he is, Jack Mitchell, our friend from KLIN. This is why we bring him on, because he is the voice of the fan, both despondent and hopeful and euphoric, all in one package.
Along those lines, Joe in Phoenix says, I agree with everything Jack says this week. Also, he gave us I saw at least 2 drops in there. The first one is very funny. I cannot wait to rehear that one.
Oh, and I didn't even get a chance to ask him about Penix. I mean, that was a big, he was all in on. Oh, Barry, okay. All right, bring it back. Bring it back on. I got to ask you, how impressive was that stretch by Penix?
Die for the pylon.
I just, I did.
I've never seen a Penix stretch like that before.
They really had to check if he got it in. I mean, it was about a minute. Which, by the way, I say no touchdown. By the way, that was no.
I
touchdown.
agree. I don't think he got it in either.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think it was a premature celebration. But
Unless you have the extended package, I do not.
It depends where the tip was. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
See, I'm thankful that Ohio State game didn't sap you entirely, because that was one time where your Twitter feed, your idea from last week of putting the Twitter up on the screen, that would have been perfect for that game.
I'm done.
For that game.
Ripped it for an
Just that
entire
game.
segment last week, and now you're like, yeah, that is a good idea.
Okay, that game and your stupid Russell Wilson is better than tweets during the Seahawks game last night. That would have been good too.
Go Seahawks.
All right, get out of here. We got to go to break.
Oh,
We'll be back in a minute on 1620 The Zone.
God, he is a riot.
He is so wrapped up. And I guarantee it's going to happen too. Nebraska's going to win without Mertz, and the takes are going to be awful. It's like, I don't really care at this point.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
That was a reminder to Stibbs to turn off the YouTube.